Welcome to ITTV.
This just in! The global officials that can help all, also known as Got You, have now banned all boogieing and boogie-related movements worldwide. Public safety is the main concern, they say, and people are reminded that boogieing is contagious. Anyone caught boogieing will be dealt with in the harshest terms, police have reported. More at 11.
I'm gonna get the vaccine, cause the government tells me to. Cause everything they've ever said has always been true. I'm gonna take the little jab so Big Brother can change my IQ. I'm gonna follow all the rules, even if they don't make sense. I'm gonna listen to the man and everything he says. When we give away our rights and our freedoms, the truth is no defense. And when they shut us down, it's because they know best. We've always looked to politicians to set us free. So whatever they say, I believe them, even if it doesn't match reality. Cause you know it didn't happen unless you see it on your TV. I don't believe it unless I see it on my TV. I'm gonna get the vaccine cause the government tells me to.
Can you put on something better than that? I'm sick of watching this.
Think. What's up, my brothers? What's up, Thug? Looks like y'all don't even have any knitted coverings for your gun. Ha, that shit looks plain as hell. Y'all got to head on down and check out Maureen at Maureen's Handmade Goods. She'll cover up that shit right. She'll hook you up with the finest crochet gun covering you ever saw. Make that shit look hard, tight. She just don't handle guns. She can knit and crochet anything. Scarves, hats, sweaters, socks. She even be hooking up your baby mama with stuffed kids' toys, blankets, and baby things. Someone in your crew got an extensive glass collection? Well, she knits beautiful pouches made with the softest merino that will not scratch, sucker. You can bet on that shit. You dealing with Maureen, you dealing with a real one. She's an esteemed test knitter for exclusive designers. She ain't just some amateur. She was a finalist in Sock Madness. What, you never heard of Sock Madness? The time speed sock knitting competition? She almost took that shit down. Maureen also be on that culturally diverse shit. Need a yarmulke? Need a prayer mat? Maureen's got you covered. So come on down, check out Maureen's Handmade Goods. Otherwise, me and some of my associates may have to come pay you a visit.
Do something for you. Do you want to be the fashion? Do you want boy fashion and girl fashion? Fabulous fashions and style for best price. Do you want to be sexy? We can make you into a fashion too. We have all the fashion. You are a delicious apple strudel. Now let me add the cream. Now with 35% more fashion. We are waiting for you.
When I'm feeling down in the dumps, I talk to Sandra and she always cheers me up. Come on over for some real conversation and a little cup of coffee. We've all been in different situations.
Hey there, husband of the year. Yes, you. Did you just get done making dinner for the whole family? Do you have a bunch of leftovers? So what will you store them with? Traditional plastic wrap? Well, that's so last century. That's why you need all new Food Gloop. Traditional plastic wrap is hard to peel. I mean, just try it out the old way. First, you have to pull out a sheet and hope that it doesn't wrinkle along the way. Did I mention it's hard to peel? Tearing off a sheet presents its own problems and challenges. And after overcoming all that, you may still end up completely helplessly wrapped up in plastic. Not to mention it's hard to peel. The poorly designed boxes make dispensing a nightmare. And after all this, your food still can escape. Just watch this carrot. Plus the difficulty that it sticks to itself. In addition to a nuisance, it can be a downright danger.
Honey, did you put the leftovers away?
With traditional plastic wrap, your food is still exposed to the air, causing mold. But all new Food Gloop seals your food from the air. Just pour the patent-pending Food Gloop over the food you wish to seal. The new and improved antimicrobial formula completely seals your food, along with a fresh spring scent. Be sure to generously cover your food. The act of bubbling means that your Food Gloop is doing its job. Now with 30% less cancer. Thanks, all new Food Gloop! Thanks, all new Food Gloop.
$100 bills in the back pocket of my suit.
Morning there, Rational Times.
$5 underneath my coat and another one in my boot.
Welcome to the Irrational Time Studio. That's right. Designed by a boomer. This is where the whimsy is made. Featuring a 1980s triple keyboard, Star Trek bucket chairs. Wow! Is that a lava lamp? That's cool and fun. With novelty-sized studio lighting. Totally unnecessary. And walls that only a stalker would envy. Thank you, and we hope that you will enjoy yourself.
Hello, friends! Welcome to our YouTube channel, accidentally named Irrational Times. He's got a microphone and his very own YouTube show. It's the Daily Boogie. It's the Daily Boogie.
Those were the days.
Hey, 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 it's Bobby J. So if you want some entertainment on a Thursday night, check out the Cousin Joe Show, cause they're doing it right. R, are you ready for this? L, for the losers who always get pissed. Don't fuck around or you're gonna get pressed by Johnny Boston. Only go one way on the money plane.
we're only going one way when you're riding on the money plane.
The way she's acting, and I'm kinda scared. She's gonna shave your head, then marry your hair.
They had a lot of money and plane tickets to get away. But Officer Scott DiCarlo stopped them. They were detained.
Sammy and Baked went out on a date, just like couples usually do.
I'm sniffing panties in the middle of the night. I keep my voice down low, cause I know it isn't right.
Wow. It appears we really are living in irrational times.
Super cool fun trip.
How's she going, boys?
Welcome to the Irrational Times live show. And now, it's your host and the lovely assistant.
Welcome everybody. Thank you, Dixie, so much.
Welcome, yes.
Yes, thank you indeed, Dixie, for the welcome. It's a Friday night here, Shirts Off Friday. Woohoo!
Friday.
Look out. We have a very special guest tonight. A local celebrity, entrepreneur, and a great storyteller. And yeah, we'll take a look at his YouTube channel in a second here before we get him on. Because once we get him on, there's no stopping him. I can guarantee you might not hear me for the rest of the hour. But be a lot of Canadian stories, possibly, American politics. Who knows?
Who knows?
Except there will be, a lot of down-home goodness going on. This is a farmer. He's a farmer, and he has sold lobster in the Alls Cove by the Causeway for our whole generation.
Right.
And a very colorful local character known by most around here.
Right.
And let's just take a quick peek at one of his videos. His YouTube channel. We'll put the link in there while we're watching this video. And
Okay.
yeah, Mr. John Pettipas. Here we go. Here's his YouTube channel. Take it away, Dixie.
Good afternoon, folks. This is John Pettipas recording on the afternoon of Friday, the first day of May. Welcome back. We're starting a new series, and I welcome all you wonderful people on YouTube throughout America, Canada, and there's somebody down in Australia. So we're covering at least two continents in the world and 3 countries, which is wonderful. We appreciate each and every one of you, wonderful subscribers. Anyway, the new series we'll start now is on farming. You see here? Dakota. I love these coveralls. Dakota, that's the North Dakota, the land of Lawrence Welk. Now, look here. We have a hoe. That's an unintended...
Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you can hear us there, John. Welcome, Mr. John Pettipas of of Cape Breton Island here. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. And now you've been around our whole life, and anytime we stopped by the cause, drove by when I was a kid, we'd always stop in, and you were, we'd always hear, that you were always like one of the greatest storytellers around. It had all the stories going, all the local gossip, and yeah, everyone seemed to love you. That's for sure. And now you've talked to everyone. People always stop by your establishment, and you've talked to so many people over the years, and now we're so happy to get a chance to talk to you and to kind of let you be exposed to like a smaller, different kind of group of people here. So now you're retired now, are you?
Oh, not at all. I'm working on many projects. You retire, you die, and I plan to keep on going.
Exactly. That's good to hear. Now you started off doing some farming videos on YouTube, and now you reached out to all kinds of different things, it looks like now.
That's right. Farmer JP was a mini-series within the John Pettipas YouTube channel last spring. The first one was done right in my studio here on Friday, May 1st of 2020, and I did them for 7 weeks. But I do politics, current events, elections. We have 1, maybe 2 coming up. 1 for sure, maybe 2.
Which elections are that now?
Well, the provincial election in Nova Scotia, the government's kind of painted the corner. The Premier McNeil decided to retire from active politics on the Monday, the 3rd of May. And now we have another lady, Margaret Miller, who has indicated she plans to leave on June 1st. So we have been minority government situation, so you either go back in the House and face possible or probable defeat this fall, or you go before the people.
Yes, we've watched a little bit of the new Premier, young Ian Rankin, now, and he asking us, what we're all thinking, what that was a funny kind of clip of him chastising us for going outside.
Well, you gotta move about. We can't stay like birds in a cage.
I agree.
Even Ann Hattie in Boston, the St. Ann Hattie used to have a bird in a cage. There are 4 children, 4 kids grown up, and Uncle Peter, after supper night, they were in triple-decker in first Dorchester, first Roxbury, then Dorchester, Massachusetts. She'd lock the screen in the back door and the front door screen. And Uncle Peter would go and have a highball, and she'd let her bird out of the cage and let the little birdie fly around the apartment. So spread the wings, as to say.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, exactly, right? So how are you coping with all of this nonsense going on now the last couple of years?
Very good. I just keep on going. I've always done pretty well as I want to.
Well, you're ahead of the curve with your garden. You've been doing some gardening, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. I was outside. That's just what I was doing today. Just to digress for a second, I got a wonderful call from a gentleman, Bill Mont, just before I come on air. It's a text, and he's going to subscribe to me my YouTube station. And he sent me a text back. That's why I got to look at the screen, message. How do you do it? He's big on Facebook. He's up to almost I think he's 4,980 or so. So he's almost at the 5,000 level. He's going to be a subscriber on. And there's not a viewer or subscriber out there is not valued or important.
That's right.
Money. America, Australia, every province of Canada, every state of the Union.
Exactly.
And my wonderful, loyal, wonderful Cape Breton friends. Beautiful. My first YouTube video was on Cape Breton Island and coal miners, and it appeared on the 21st aired initial broadcast YouTube line on August 24th of 2019. So I'm about I'm at the 19-month mark as of this Monday.
Oh, nice. And you're almost at 800.
Well, bless your heart. That's music to my ears.
You're over 750 now. It sounds like you're just almost at 750.
Really?
So now I put the link in there.
I'm going to applaud the viewer. Bless your heart, dear friends. Bless your heart. That's fantastic. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, we're putting the link in the.
For a couple hours.
We're putting the link in the chat, and we're going to hope that.
Well, thank you. Every John Pettipas YouTube, Jon Pettipas, P like president, E like elephant, TD like Trump, I like garden, P like present A like America, S like state.
So, John, can I ask you something? Now,
Go ahead.
One thing I've always heard, I heard one story from my folks that a good friend of my family was the piano player, Mr. Al Fajir.
Yes.
Now, he had the story that years ago, he went down to the States and came across you selling Christmas trees down in the States to Americans. You drove down.
I didn't. I sold Christmas trees in Halifax, but not the United States. I know somebody from community nearby here that him and his buddy used to go down to the Waltham Plaza. My mother was born in Waltham, Massachusetts. The Spirit of America, which is actually in the state license plate. It's the state motto, the Spirit of America for the state of Massachusetts. And the Joe and his buddy, the Wallace gentleman, used to go down to Waltham Plaza. So it's next to Lexington. Okay, but I didn't sell Christmas trees in the United States.
Okay, so that was a myth.
I didn't sell Christmas trees.
Okay, so maybe the story it was like one of those stories that got half right.
Well, that's right. I sold. They get built upon.
It happens.
That's how history goes.
Someone in the chat says that your flag game is on point.
Thank you. Look, here we got. See here.
That's our home. That's our Cape Breton flag.
Cape Breton.
Yeah.
So, among the finest people in the face of God's earth, period. We've got the globe of the world here. It's all over from Africa, Asia, and subcontinent of India, Europe, South and North America, and you can't beat Cape Bretoners. Some of the finest people, wonderful people everywhere, but especially fine folks. You great Cape Bretoners.
I agree. Now, over your years, have you met any prime ministers over the years?
Okay, they've taken I met two before. I met I call him the curly-headed pot pusher Justin Trudeau when he was then opposition leader, and I thought he was an arrogant, full of himself, little blank. And my opinion has not changed. It's been reinforced. He was actually in my store back on the 29th of August of 2013. I took in Jean Chrétien come to Walls Cove when he was then opposition leader again. He came to Walls Cove on a bus coming back from God's country, Cape Breton. And Bill Gillis' son, John Michael, said, come on down to the urban big stuff, but don't talk too much. So I said, you tell me that, I'm not going to go. And so anyway, Sue and I think it was Paul went down. And Sue got a wonderful lady, and she's about the same size and build of Aline Chrétien, and somebody talked that she was Jean Chrétien's wife, Aline. That's back now in probably about 91, 92. I've had several premiers in.
Okay.
And provincial premiers, the premier of PEI, and who else? Guy that ran for John Crosby's son's been in the store. The guy who's running for Chess Crosby. He was in on several occasions. I had a letter from John Crosby one time. A great guy. Do I have time to say this?
Of course. Go on.
Okay, fine. Okay. Well, he takes and I'm not a big fan of royalty, but they certainly get lots of publicity and they serve a purpose. You have to admire the Queen for being there for 70 years next year now. Okay, longest serving monarch in history, at least in British history, I think, if not in the world. They take and anyway have to admire. But Edward, the youngest son, and his beautiful new bride were over Newfoundland. And so at the time, John Crosby was lieutenant governor. I read in the Globe and Mail, or it might have been Halifax, I'm pretty certain Globe and Mail, that he wore his sealskin jacket. And I never noticed such thing about like Colonel Sanders. It wasn't a tie, no tie, but it's a bow tie.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. So I sent him a letter. I said, "Dear Mr. Lieutenant Governor, dear John, but dear Mr. Crosby, I want to, because I love the seal hunters. Okay, the whalers, seal hunters. Anyway, he said, please, this bit would be back in about late 1990s. Okay, so you're talking now about 13 years ago. Okay, almost 14 years. So he sent me a letter back. Dear Mr. Pettipas, he scratched up to Mr. Pettipas, but Dear John, make himself very personal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Dear John, please rest assured that I will take and wear my sealskin jacket every occasion, plus my sealskin bow tie, which I never knew there was that is a little necktie.
Never heard of such a
like
thing.
He used in the Southern United States, and he used in Calgary Stampede. And he was great. He spoke in Mabu one time. You know that Mabu Cape Breton?
Really?
Yes. John Crosby spoke. He was running for leader. Hello, Shelley. I now see. Welcome. And we say Kimbala How. That's Gaelic for how you doing.
Yes, we don't want to say, as long as you don't say Puck Maha.
Well, whatever that means, same view as well. To take.
Exactly.
Anyway, he's a very colorful character. So I'll have to tell you, 2 premiers coming after their premier. One premier after a premier. Honourable Russell McClellan, former member of Parliament for Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
They take Sydney Richmond, and they take in Sydney Victoria. Actually, was right his federal constituency, and John Savage. John Savage came in. Do I have time to mention this?
Go, yes, go ahead. Just move, maybe, John, move a little closer, just a little bit closer to your microphone.
Premier. He was in at least once in person when he was premier, and he was in after his premier. And it's worth saying tonight, because he certainly wasn't the most politically astute for the party, but there was no questions for his personal integrity and honor. And I brought them in the kitchen. It was not a bribe. I'm not into bribery. And I gave them each lobster roll. The cooks prepared lobster roll, made a lobster roll up in a bottle of water. And he stood there, and Margaret was there. Can I stand up? You can see me okay in the camera?
Oh, yes.
And Margaret said, what did you learn being premier? And Margaret, his wife, sometimes their wives take it hard. She's a lovely lady. She used to give books out library, and she never would tell the people at, I think it was the Dartmouth Public Library, books for people in the home that couldn't get out. And she always showed up for duties. On a very rare occasion, she couldn't do her routine. She made certain somebody else. She got somebody to fill in for her. So she said, how much people can hate you? And that's not, she was a negative lady, but John Savage was standing alongside his lovely wife and said, but we also met a lot of nice people. And I said, you're now in Africa. He went down to work in Africa for a mining company, Trustcan. I think it was in Niger. He was doing a clinic. And he said, and I said, he'd spoken, somebody had the wisdom to invite him down to what's then called the Cancer Regional Vocational School. This was one in Bridgewater. It was probably the South Shore Vocational School. It wasn't called community college then. He was spoken to graduation. And so anyway, it was either Parkview Education Center High School in Bridgewater or the community, what is now Community College Vocational School. Anyway, he said, in Nova, this is back now, so he's premier from 93 to 98. And so this is probably about 99, because he died in 2001, I believe. So anyway, he said, in Nova, I'm working in a country where they spend $10 a day on, not a day, excuse me, $10 a year. $10 a year on health care. Okay, so
that's not very much.
And over in Nova Scotia, we're spending 700 years, but he was per year and per person. So anyway, he was a remarkable man, and it was the last time I seen a boat alive. And so he said we also met a lot of very nice people, and he was not politically astute, but he was very He turned the debt financing. He broke the back of the debt financing spiral in the province and had to make a lot of tough decisions. And of course, to make a lot of changes, people sometimes don't like change, especially a lot coming right quick. And anyway, but he was remarkable. But he came in the store after his premier.
Yeah, a lot has changed very quickly in the last few years. That's for darn sure. Yep. And so. Who was probably one of the more, for our American friends, or one of the more famous people that have stopped by your market over the years, over the decades?
Okay, well, I didn't have, there's the former Democratic governor, I'm not a fan of the Democratic Party, but the former Democratic governor, Schulberger or something, he was a Jewish gentleman from Vermont, and he was the governor of Vermont for at least a couple of terms, and his workman, great guy, gave a donation to Harry Fox Foundation and bought some stuff. He was going down to Port Hood Island with a bailer. Okay? Most people don't notice that Elizabeth May, I served Elizabeth May supper at Norwood Close on Good Friday, but she came in, we had fish, and she was actually, I thought she'd be she was truly very gracious. Her father was then a widower, so her father was with her, he was still alive, okay, John May, Elizabeth, and her daughter. And she gave her a business card, and she was quite gracious. A lot of people don't know that the Democratic candidate, George McGovern, in 1972, that ran against President Nixon, had a home in Belle Cote. You go to Margaree River, one side it's Margaree Harbor.
I've played gigs. I've played gigs down in Belle Cote.
Pardon me?
I've played gigs down in Belle Cote.
Well, that Belle Cote, and that's how the Mays got up here, because the Mays were big in Democratic politics, and George McGovern was very lefty, and that's how the May family got up through George McGovern. So George McGovern had who else?
So, John, on a serious note, before we move on from Elizabeth May, now, Elizabeth May, some people have the opinion that she is the one who kind of has tried to affect the mill in a negative way and has kind of lost a lot of jobs for our town.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. With a 10-cent piece in the Mary Elizabeth schooner, she had, I put my change into a plastic bag so it doesn't fall out of my pocket. And she put a 10-cent dime into the phone booth at Mary Elizabeth and payphone, and she phoned in the show called Today's Opinion, Siege of X, and you had a weak-kneed guy by the name of Vince McLean, who was then Minister of Lands and Forests, and he didn't spray. And there's no question that the amount of wood, that fiber, that was devastated by the budworm from about 1976, 77, it destroyed more fiber than what the mill had used in about 25 years. It was awful, okay? And she was more mellowed when she came in. She represented riding over Salt Spring Islands, and it's called Salt Spring Gulf Islands. It's a coastal lower mainland of BC, and over 604 area code. And I've been told, not by her, but I've been told from people who know it, that there's more marijuana plants on the Salt Spring Island than there is tomato plants.
Wow, that's a nice.
I don't think so. But I'm like President Trump. I think he doesn't drink, smoke, or take drugs, and encourages kids not to do the same. And I didn't realize he's like he takes very little coffee.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah. So what
I'm not saying this to brag, boast, but I want your question. What does Tom Brady and John Pettipas have in common?
What's that, John?
Tom Brady, the famous football gentleman.
Yeah.
Okay. New England Patriots. Now he's down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do we have in common? And he's not. Neither one of us is Mormon. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where they don't drink caffeine or stimulating beverages like, say, Coca-Cola or Pepsi. And neither one of us has ever tasted coffee. Literally.
Yeah. Do you know, I think I can join you with that one. I ate a coffee bean when I was 9 years old, and it was so gross that I never touched coffee.
Well, you got the same qualities of Aunt Hattie. Aunt Hattie, including my father, all the Pettipas boys, and all the Pettipas sisters, except for Aunt Hattie, smoke and drink. They were good people, but they smoke and drink. Aunt Hattie had a cigarette that made her sick, and said, why do it? Okay, and then she didn't do it again, but she tasted liquor, and she didn't like it, and say, why drink it? And she never smoked or drank, and she died 20 months shy of her 100th birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
She was the one in Boston that, remember, he was let the bird out of the cage and move around?
Isn't that wild? Yeah. So, John, you must have been devastated that Trump lost. I don't mean to bring it down, but...
It's a very sad time. I was all ready to... Actually, he'll be back. He's like General MacArthur. General Douglas MacArthur, when he had to leave the Philippines as the Japanese invaded and he was undermanned, he last thing General Douglas MacArthur said to the Filipino nation people was that I shall return. I shall return. And I've never seen the conservative movement so strong. And you're gonna.
Well, I like your hope. I like your hope, John.
I tell you one thing. Here we are on Friday evening, the 21st day of May, and so 10 days from tomorrow morning, it's going to be the 1st of June. And you go June to July to August, September, October, November. We will then literally on 1st of June, we're going to be 1 year and 5 months away from the midterm election, which is going to be on November 1st, 2022. We're going to get back the U.S. Senate. We're going to regain the House of Representatives. And in 2024, it's going to be 4 more years. So, there's already one president served 2 terms, but not consecutive. Grover Cleveland. He was a Democrat back in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And he served from 1886 to 1885 to 89, was it? And then he was back in 1893 to 97, I believe. But President Trump will do 2 terms. That you can record this, save this, and call me back in another 3 years and 5 months to tell me.
We'll get you back on. We'll get you back on.
How my crystal ball was. How's that?
We'll get you on during the election for sure.
I got my Pence. I always have this on. Trump, Pence, but next time it's going to be Trump Pompeo, Mike Pompeo from the great state of Kansas.
John, do you have a Trump bobblehead?
Actually, I do. Linda sent me one from Ontario, and it's next door. I got a Trump shiny card. James Nellen brought it back from Florida last year. Gertie's oldest daughter and her husband brought me back President Trump chocolate bar. And Linda sent me a President Trump box. If I'd known this, I would have. And I got something else over there too. I got oodles of pins. Okay.
I just had to know because I knew where I could get a bobblehead, and I would have got it for you if you didn't have one.
Oh, well, dude, I need one for here, though. Please get it. What's better than one bobblehead? 2. Okay, here. I'm going to make notes when I'm on television.
Yes, do it.
Okay.
Yes, we love notes around here.
Stephen, S-H means S-H-E. Stephen Hughes Esquire.
Esquire.
Present me, Stephen Hughes Esquire will get President Trump, you call it the bobblehead?
Yes, bobblehead.
Okay, now somebody made a lot of money making those things.
Well, it's only $30 where I can get it from. It's not too much.
Well, bless you. That's very generous of you.
It's not too bad at all.
Very
not
generous
at all.
of you.
I am fascinated by how...
I love what I'm doing. Everything in life. Jack Welch was actually a Massachusetts native, and he stuttered. And his mother wasn't egotistical. She told him, "You're the smartest boy in the street in your class." Okay, not being bragging, and he overcome his stutter, and General Electric soared to new heights under him. And he spoke at, I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale or Stanford or some college or school, and he told the kids, students, graduates, do in life what you like doing, what you enjoy doing, and the money will follow after this. And as to say, there's more to life to money. We all need money to pay bills and so on, but it is, you can go on in success. You need persistence. There's a wonderful Dutch lady from West Bay Road, and I've shown her something in a little bits and pieces booklet I get once a month. Mr. Ted Cogan of Virgin Credit Union gave me the booklet one time. He gets a little motivation, lots of little famous quotes and humor's the best medicine and little antidotes. So anyway, one of them was persistence. And the lady looked at it, came the word persistence. There, persistence. And there's so Schultz, the guy that did the cartoons, the
Peanuts.
famous The Peanuts.
Yeah, Charlie Brown.
I read one time that he said he could paper his office with rejection notes. He got to 20. It was really hard. It's hard to place a radio show. Bill Bartlett told me, syndicated radio show. And it's very hard in those days, probably even more so now, less print media, to place a syndicated called cartoon column. Okay, and that was but it takes persistence. I gotta ask Shelley for a minute. Say, do you eat eggs sometime at breakfast?
I haven't in a while, but I like eggs.
We had eggs yesterday.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
How many?
2 if I do.
2. Okay, well that's not bad. It's a fine source of protein.
No.
Fine source of protein. What about yourself, Stephen? How many eggs do you eat? Oh, they care.
Probably 3 or 4 a week.
Well, when I have it, scrambled eggs or poached eggs, 8. But you're never so good in life you can't be better. I watched the piece on the Roosevelts. It's a piece on Americans, Ken Burns and the Roosevelts, and it's on PBS on Saturday afternoons. Okay, from out of Boston from 4 to 6. And guess how many eggs President Roosevelt ate? This is my famous hero, Theodore.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
How many eggs? 8?
A dozen?
Well, I eat 8. No, he's better than me. You're not so good you can't be better. 12.
A dozen.
He ate a
And
dozen.
I'm not saying this to brag, but the same Dutch lady, I had somebody in the famous Carnes will help you. It was Jack McDonald and McDonald Twins and Midway Motors, okay? And so he's looking to buy some trees. And I said, you're Presbyterian. He said, I've never touched liquor in my life. And I said, well, I tasted the priest wine once I fill up his ultra wine, once with water, once with wine. And I had a mouthful of the yellow wine. Geez, that's worse than matters. Grapefruit juice, so I spit it up the sink. So I just tasted it, and out it went. I was like a wine taster. And anyway, later on, once I had, actually the night that Elvis Presley died, and for some reason, I had a half a bottle of beer. And that's literally all the liquor I've consumed in my life.
Was half a bottle of beer.
Dutch lady and her equally wonderful husband. I was after a house one evening drinking milk, and the husband at the end of the table, Mr. Riker, said, John, your story's more believable. I heard those wonderful, and that actually happened. John, your story's more believable.
Half a beer for his whole life. That's wild. And a little bit of wine when he was younger.
I'm having a milk though. I'm having a quart of milk every morning to get me going. And as it's warm now, I hit the juice daytime. Whatever's on sale at Sobeys, the Graves apple juice or the orange juice.
Listen, guys, in the chat, there are all kinds of people in the chat here that are loving you, and he's giving you life lessons. Look, if he's, eggs and milk, just dairy and good living, and you grow your own food a lot, mostly. It sounds like.
I spoke to somebody this evening actually from Maryland, wonderful people. They even have their own cow for the supply their family milk, and they make yogurt and everything. And she was telling me, Vanessa was telling me that she has kale. Kale is they put that in these smoothies in the morning and so on. It's quite healthy, lots of vitamins in it. You can freeze it. And she has kale and Swiss chard coming in her garden the last year.
Oh, wow.
Something? It survived the winter.
Nice.
Remarkable. And how you've got subscribers throughout obviously United States, Canada. Ever get anybody in Australia yet?
We have at least one gentleman from Australia on a regular basis.
Good.
A friend named Boogie Bumper. He does his own show.
You're like rabbits. They keep multiplying.
Yeah. Boogie Bumper is a lot like a rabbit. Yeah.
Well, I think in Australia, if not mistaken, they have jackrabbits. They're hares. They call it H-A-R-E, not hair like hair in our head.
Of course.
Hares, H-A-R-E.
Yeah.
And they take and they're big things. I don't know if they make meat pie with them or not there.
Oh, we're big on the meat pie around here, that's for sure.
Oh, big time.
We have a lot of similarities with Australians as far as our laws are concerned and how things kind of we have a lot of similarities as far as the modern day kind of progressive ideologies that we're being afflicted with.
But there's also a specific thing, and I'm part of it. Australians for Trump. Australians apparently are very outspoken people. You know that?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought they were fair, but very outspoken. Mr. Whitey said, John, you do good in New York City. He took me to tour New York City. I went down to buy plush one time in the early 80s in the Bronx, and he took me around. I seen the Statue of Liberty, Wall and Broad Street. What else? Coney Island, which they were redeveloping the casinos. I'm not a big fan of casinos, but they were redeveloping. That would have been That would have been in November of 1980.
That's when you were at Coney Island.
Do you remember the Jeffersons were moving on up?
The show, of course, yes, moving on up.
George
Yeah.
Jefferson and Eloise and so on.
Yeah.
Were moving on up. Well, those are co-op housing. They're kind of almost hexagon, star-shaped buildings. And he said, look at that. You have in that complex, there might be, say 25 families to floor, 20 high. That would be 500 families, three or four to family, 2,000, 12 buildings like that, 24. He said that was the population of guys from Richmond or an Antigonish or a bigger county population-wise, Antigonish or Inverness County, okay, including Port Hawkesbury and Antigonish town. All that many people in one co-op housing project.
Isn't that amazing?
They drive really quick in New York, and I think Mr. Whitey was speeding or something, and they got stopped by the police, and his daughter was married to, they called it a precinct. The precinct there, remember Barney Miller, the show Barney Miller?
Yes.
So his one son and one daughter. So the daughter's married to a guy that was a police officer, and says, I support the United Police Fund, whatever, but they let out. I gotta tell you, like, time for a quick story. You remember Mrs. Closen, Golden Mile in Port Hastings?
Say that again?
The Golden Mile in Port Hastings, in by the Ben's Bread Store used to be, A&W and hotels.
I think I remember when I was a kid seeing some old pamphlets around the house for that, but it's foggy. You're going back.
Well, the Golden Mile, and anyway, Mrs. Closen was coming in from Port Hastings because her husband died and Tom Williams' wife had died, so they moved into his house in Troy, Newtown, and she had an older Lincoln Town car, and she had a heavy foot on the gas pedal, and she was going, I think it was 70, and she was going 70 kilometers. She was going 85 or 90. So the police officer laid down and pulled her aside, and said, "Can I see your license?" Yes. And he says, "Where are you going?" And the police officer looked at Mrs. Close, and she's quite a dynamic lady, probably in her mid to late 70s time. "Where are you going in such a rush?" She looked at her, and she looked over the window and smiled at him and said, "Officer, if you were my age, you'll be in a rush to get where you're going to." And he smiled back at her and said, "Very good. I'll let you off with a warning this time, but if I stop you again, I'm going to have to give you a ticket." And that's a true story. Mrs. Tom Williams, her original name was Close, and Tom Williams would have been brother of George Williams, who was discussed this afternoon, gentleman that was corporate lawyer in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Closen, with her original husband that had passed on, had been a woodcutter. I think they were Austrians. The woodcutter down in Grand Grieve, outside of Lordways, Richmond County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know that I love natural resources. You know, I did a video a few weeks ago on oil and natural gas, natural resources, be it fishermen or mining or forestry, natural gas, oil. I call myself, when I do the videos, hydrocarbon man. Am I allowed to show one of my little sheets here?
Of course. Let's see. The oil industry. Oh, you read it off.
A wonderful gentleman in the forest industry, and he's a gentleman, said, "John, the oil industry, does it show up okay in camera?"
I'm blocking. My camera's blocking just a little bit.
A little bit.
Move it over by your face a little bit. There you go.
Okay, fine. The oil industry will disappear when mosquitoes become a problem in Nova Scotia in January. I'm going to repeat that. The oil industry will disappear when the mosquitoes become a problem in Nova Scotia in January. And of course, they're not a problem in Nova Scotia in January, February, March. Right. And so we'll need jet fuel and diesel for diesel cars and trucks and trains, and you'll hear the train go by a little bit later, and gasoline for a long time to come, in my opinion, and many others.
I would agree with you, sir.
Can't all go around with a windmill or a solar panel on our car to get where we're going.
Now, did you hear of any rumors over the years around here now that I have? Now, these could be all completely facetious. Of any secret oil kind of how would I supplies of oil kind of where they've drilled for oil, found it, but then capped it and just kind of said, okay. Well,
I keep hearing those stories. You'll hear that when a well is offshore or somewhere as they get all capped. There's supposed to be some oil around Lake Ainsley, okay? And whether it's commercial or not, it's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly oil on the west coast of Newfoundland. There's a place called Parsons Pond. Going up the Great Northern Peninsula. You get off the ferry at Pettipas. You go through Kippens, the Steamel Crossing, Steamel. That's in the Port of Pettipas. But keep on going up in the direction of Deer Lake, and you go Cowhead, Daniels Harbor, Parsons Pond, and there's seeps. So when you see seeps of oil coming out of the ground, it either means years ago, millions of years ago, millennia ago, that oil was there, and it's just a little bit of remnants left. Or it could mean there's a large quantity, and that it's just a bit like Jed Clampett. That is, it just, of course, that was a make-believe show, but oil bubbling out of the ground.
Of course.
You know, actually, this is a fact. There's a piece on this morning on the sea. I watched the business news intensely early in the morning. It's called Worldwide Exchange with Brian Sullivan. After get their morning prayer and CJX and news and weather at 6 a.m. and 6:05 I turn on CNBC New York from it's actually from 6 to 7, but I missed the first 5 minutes of it. And they're supposed to get local news. But there was the guy was interviewed today, the CEO at the Port of Los Angeles. And I know somebody toward that port. And there's actually oil producing, producing, they call them donkeys, the stuff that's all fenced in on some of the wharf areas of containers. They're really backed up right now. There's been so much stuff coming in, and they're a little bit short along shoremen. And there's just the last 8 months is probably the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach and Seattle, Washington, the Puget Sound in Washington State are the 3 busiest ports on the west coast of North America. And I believe the Port of Los Angeles is the busiest port in North American continent period. Outdoes New York, and outdoes Newark, Norfolk, Virginia, and so on, and New Jersey. But that said, there's oil. The question about oil, there's some coal at Low River. I know from Margie's older brother would drill wells, and you see as the little finds come out, there's definitely coal. You're not very far from the Stringfisham Hospital.
Well, I heard it was
down there. You know that?
I heard it was in Bear Head, so I figured me and you could go and end up like the Beverly Hillbillies, and let's go.
Well, you take and it's we can always hope for the best. Not too far from Bear Head, they were going to store what you call our U.S. strategic national oil reserves after the first Gulf War in the early 70s. Okay. Yeah. And you have the U.S. Actually, those were tapped into, I believe, a few weeks ago. And we had this hacking, not even a few weeks ago, so about 10 days ago, now the hacking of the line, bringing stuff up, okay, from refined product. And it's a U.S. strategic reserve, but they decided Home Oil was going to drill caverns to store oil in domes back of Sunnyside. You familiar with Sunnyside, Richland County?
Sure.
Sunnyside, just down the shore from Bear Head. They were going to store oil in the salt caverns there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably before you're born. You don't look very old. You got a big today. When I spoke to you, you looked. I told Shelley. I told your fine husband. He looked like young Stephen Jobs.
Aww.
Yeah.
But Stephen Jobs, very unique character, and he used to soak his feet in an unusual place. Can you or Shelley tell me where Stephen Jobs used to soak his feet?
Where did Steve Jobs used to soak his feet? I would have to guess like the Yellowstone, park where they had the hot springs.
Well, it's something in a bathroom, but it's not the bathtub.
Any guesses?
No idea.
Where did he used to?
He used to soak his feet in the toilet bowl.
Oh no! Why?
Yes, he did.
I'm sure he flushed it.
He got busy, and he wouldn't take a bath for about a week at a time. But that's not unusual. Many of the famous scientists would lock themselves in the lab and have food brought in the door and focus on what they're doing. So that's not unusual for people that are really focusing on their projects.
John,
he did soak his feet. I read this profile in Business Week magazine or something. So it's not something everybody want to.
No, I don't think so. But that's interesting. I mean, if it's it's part of history. But can I ask you? There's a question from the chat.
this is meant for family review and not to be gross, but the human mouth is very dirty. That's why we get our teeth cleaned okay, because it's warm, the mouths are dirty, and they claim that, but I know it's another one, is a dishcloth. A dishcloth, there's food particles on it, and it's warm in the kitchen to dry. There's more, if you took a carrot, and I'm not being gross, but I'm going to say this, took a carrot, and I did dishes this evening now, because it's hot, and if I took a carrot out of the fridge, and wiped it on the damp dishcloth and tested for germs before I ate it, there'd be a lot more germs from dishcloth, which I think would be clean because it's been soapy water, okay, but there's food particles in it, than if you dumped it in the toilet bowl and took it out.
Wow.
A clean toilet bowl, not with excrement or urine in it. But it kind of scares. Yeah.
I've kind of heard that saying that there was more germs on a dish rag than a toilet bowl. I've heard that.
And that's why I'm a bit of a. I'm not in their league, but what does Howard Hughes, President Trump, and John Pettipas have in common?
What does Howard Hughes, President Trump, and John Pettipas have in common? I don't know, sir.
And I just promised your name is Hughes too. And we're germaphobes.
Oh, you're a germaphobe? Okay, right on.
Yeah, germaphobe. But now President Trump at one time didn't shake hands. But I thought he must be a snot. But no, I met somebody at the Bradford Monastery. I'm half American. My mother's born in Waltham, Massachusetts, you know. My father's Acadian, but there's 3/4 French, 1/4 Irish. So anyway, what happens is I met a guy in Monastery. His father was American. His mother was Canadian. And I said, where? He worked down in Fort Lauderdale. I said, you must have went by Mar-a-Lago. He said, went by Mar-a-Lago. I worked in there. And he, 20-some years ago, before President Trump was president, he installed some natural. It's cool there only in December of the old year, in January New Year, and just to keep the chill off, okay? And he installed some propane heaters in one part of Mar-a-Lago, or maybe several units, whatever. And he met then real estate developer Trump, and he said, John, he's just like in television. He's a man that knows what he wants, and he looks you right in the eye. He doesn't look over you or look at your nose above you. He looks right. You do something good. He's a very direct, sincere gentleman. The media does him a great disservice. But he told me, in fact, twice we had a discussion that, and the guy told me, he said, just like you see him, he's a very direct guy. Okay, and he takes and say this guy actually worked in Mar-a-Lago. By the way, I got to mention one double Cape Breton. Vive la Cape Breton. You know that President Trump's mother or grandmother was a McLeod, and their distant relatives in McLeods at the Presbyterian McLeods at Foreshrew, Grand Grieve, Richmond County.
Really?
That's a fact. The McLeods, and his father used to take him to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. It was a Peace and American Experience this past Monday evening. It was a 2-hour show on Billy Graham. Because Billy Graham turned 98 on Monday, November 7th, 2016, and President Trump was elected on Tuesday, November 8th, 2016, for the first time. Mm-hmm. Okay, and Billy Graham passed on just less than a year, I believe, from what would have been his 100th birthday. So this November now, Billy Graham would have been 140 lived. He was almost 100, but there was a nice piece on Billy Graham. But President Trump's father, Fred Trump, used to take him to the big Madison Square Garden in New York City. It's a big, something like the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto or something. Okay, Astrodome and other places. And one more thing on President Trump. Mr. Charles Whitey, and I'm not saying it'd be about me, but Mr. Charles Whitey, that took me around New York City, Brooklyn, and so on. He's in the Brooklyn Terminal Market. He's in heaven now, but his son, Charlie Jr., runs the operation. Every year for years, around the U.S. Thanksgiving, we have our Thanksgiving the last Thursday in November, this man would phone up, and he'd want a tree for his construction headquarters. And a 25, 30-foot fir, and that tree would always come from Guysborough County, Nova Scotia, Antigonish County, and the guy's name was Trump. But it wasn't Donald Trump. It was Fred Trump, President Trump. This went on for decades. And he'd always, yes, Mr. Trump will deliver. I'll send a truck over for it. And every year, it was, by the way, there was no such thing as Trump Plaza back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. early 80s. The Trump Plaza, maybe in the 80s, 60s and 70s wasn't. It wasn't Trump Plaza, Manhattan. This was the construction office of the Trump Construction Company in Queens, New York. Queens, New York. Okay. Interesting, yeah. But I'm doing too much talking. You shoot the questions. Or do people phone in questions?
Well, they've asked some in the chat, and
You ask. It's time for me to.
Well, there is a question here from the chat that someone wanted to know. If you have an opinion on this, what do you think about 5G? Do you have any opinions about 5G?
5G. I'm not very smart on technology. I'm not a technologically. I'm not. You can only know so much about so many things. That said, it's a major. The 5G, depending on unequivocally state, real China, free China, Taiwan, mainland China, Red China's communist country, and there's nothing in the world. And it's interesting I say this. I made a comment on a video one day, and I had no idea what was going on. I made a comment that my video was a few weeks ago on there's nothing like the simple ballot that you fill out, fold up, and they watch you put it in a can. Humble ballot, like when your wonderful late mother ran for mayor. That humble paper ballot. And
100%.
I said, there's nothing in the world that can't be hacked. The New Scotland Yard, the National Security Agency,
the CSIS,
the CIA, the Pentagon, and I made that comment probably a week, 10 days before they did the hacking of the pipeline, the pipeline that was bringing 45% of the refined oil, petroleum products, jet fuel, diesel, and oil to. There's the train coming. Is Georgia, South North Carolina, Tennessee, right up the Mid-Atlantic, up to New Jersey, actually. And they take. So anyway, what happens is 5G. It's not a wonderful thing that people can get data and stuff quicker. Okay, but the equipment can't be from the highway. No. Okay, and it's those people, you could really, I shouldn't be saying this in public forum, but you could really frig up the economy if you stop ATMs working. You imagine the impact if people couldn't get them on ATMs?
Of course, we shouldn't be giving too much control to these global interests and these global banking and politicians and people that can, like you said, they can shut off your MasterCard, your ATM cards when you have just.
Can you hear the train? Can you hear the train whistle?
I cannot.
Choo choo!
Uh-oh. Let's go. Nice. We should be hopping that train.
I love the train.
I would love I'd love to hop the train.
Crossing just before me here.
Yeah.
That's the fast train west. It's taking our paper from Oxford paper for print companies everywhere. Some Costco in California, the people in Virginia, and the coal up to make the lights go, and the lovely wallboard product.
The gypsum, yeah.
The wallboard. I got a tour of that plant one time with Jim and Carol Jenkins. They were wonderful people. They want that, and they got wonderful workers there. My God, they're good. They fantastic work crew. They truly work together as a team, and they've been busy. They've been busy. So, thank God they are. I've seen a product go by from Sunday night to Friday night. There's no trains on Saturday.
Nice indeed. Yeah, it was a sad day.
5G, okay, as long as it's stuff that's made in the Western world. You can't trust Huawei.
I know it's hypocritical to say, but even though we're talking on technology, I'm very skeptical of it.
Yeah, well, I am too, because it gets into big, it's almost like that what was the book? George Orwell.
1984.
Yeah. Government control stuff. I mean, this evening, gentleman sent me. There was a council in Ontario made a blunt comment on the people with the coronavirus vaccine were like guinea pigs, and the mayor asked him to take this down, and he said, "What is said can't be unsaid, and I stand by my statement." And he was a real good guy, and I suggest he came from Eastern Europe for the name he had, possibly Ukrainian or Polish. I served a customer one day in the store, actually, and he said his son was going to vote for Obama, and he said, I escaped. Your grandfather, your mother, and me escaped communism. We didn't escape to come to America to live under socialism. You know that? And they take, and there's a lot of, I've seen, I know maybe digressing too far here, but there's a piece on the PBS NewsHour earlier this week of Lula da Silva, who is the president of the nation in Brazil, which is a very young population. He's definitely a lefty. Okay, Lula da Silva. It's a Portuguese-speaking country. It's not Spanish. It's actually the largest Portuguese-speaking country in the world. And he talked about world government. You make stuff too big, it doesn't work. You consolidate HRM into one. It's Bedford, Halifax, Dartmouth, the county into one. Not good, especially when people in the county got to pay higher taxes for not getting more services. Same in Sydney, all the industrial Britain towns, you put them all in together. Lewisburg, Dominion, Glace Bay, New Waterford, blah, blah, blah.
So then imagine...
School boards, hospital boards, and it looks good on paper. Interesting, I had this discussion with somebody the other day, that in Ontario and Massachusetts, even though it's a lefty state, has a lot of fairly small towns. And the system seems to work. Okay? Small towns.
Mm-hmm.
They might share a town engineer or something like that, each little town can have one. Or they might share a fire department service. But they do. And big is good if it's efficient, but often it becomes bureaucratic. And my famous example of that one is, we talk about Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth I of England, she went against what was a superpower today, was Philip of Spain. And Philip had the Spanish Armada. If you don't know how good you are in history, Spanish Armada had these big, bulky boats, and there was Sir Drake. And Sir Drake took and said there was little boats. They couldn't meet head for head with the Spanish Armada. They were wooden boats, and you went around with whale oil, and they set the big boats on fire. That was an example of his small and efficient. Now, if I was a sailor on the Spanish galleons, I wouldn't want to have my boat set on fire. But mind you, that was so. People are very resourceful. Tomorrow morning, I have a little note in the bathroom that every Saturday morning, if I'm home, from 11:30 to 12, I watch the Henry Ford Innovation Nation on CBS. It's been Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Ford Nation helps to pay for it. It's actually about Lyndon Hearst, Hearst newspaper chain, but they'll often go back to the Henry Ford, always do the Henry Ford big village at Dearborn that shows lots of stuff. Anyway, Henry Ford has an expression that tell a man or a woman, he meant mankind, tell an individual what has to be done, but don't tell them how to do it. And 8 or 9 times out of 10, they'll figure out an idea to do it better than what you had. So if you want a ditch dig or something, don't tell them how to do it. Just tell them, I want dug from here to there, and they'll do whatever. You want some. So people, I have great faith in humanity. There's times in history when humans do cruel things to one another, but we're very resourceful.
I agree.
Very resourceful people.
Yeah, I
Look
agree.
at what you're doing. I'm very impressed with your fantastic system that you and your wife have set up. It's beautiful.
Well,
and I thank you for becoming a subscriber.
Yes, we've
You subscribed on station. I become just like a warm crescent bun.
there. Now you do you do videos almost every day, do you?
Well, I used to do one a week. This Farmer JP series was one a week. But now I'm doing these shorts. Okay? And they take in, I do one long and one short, sound like the old phone system. One day I did 2 shorts in a regular video. I have notes in front of me. People can probably see it. It doesn't work out to read what you're doing, but I do keep notes to kind of makes it. And I missed an important point. It was Maxine Daniel Carr. Maxine Daniel just celebrated a 51st anniversary on the 1st of May. It's actually 3 weeks ago tomorrow. And 3 weeks ago today, actually, isn't it? 1st of May. Anyway, what happens is they take, yes, this is the 21st. And so anyway, Maxine, the young married couple, was one of my first Amway customers. Daniel's late mother was alive and well then, widow, but she was crossed the road, Bonvie Lane. She was the customer, Mrs. Margaret Carr, and Maxine's mother, Mary Louise, was a customer. So 3 customers in one family, one extended family. You don't forget that. Anyway, I did a video, and I forgot to mention about lobster, and so I did a follow-up video, and Maxine Daniel has 215 views, and a little 4-minute, 56-second video did in lobsters and a controversial wedding date. That one got 647 views as of tonight. That's only done 2 weeks ago. Okay,
Nice.
actually 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So, I'm averaging probably about 3 a week now.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Well, it's fun. I think I get notes here, and then something else comes up, and sometimes your video think it's going to go really well, it doesn't go over so good. Then other times your video you think didn't do that hot, and it goes really good. It's a work in progress. We learn as we go.
Yeah, you'll learn as you go that the more wild stuff you say, the more views you'll get.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was going to say that, but I had a discussion with everybody in Waterford the other night, and they said, remember I mentioned President Theodore Roosevelt?
Mm-hmm.
One of his daughters said that Theodore Roosevelt, a very humble, good man, but Theodore Roosevelt knew how to like to get attention. He was a politician and a great statesman and a wonderful leader. He's on Mount Rushmore. And Theodore Roosevelt's daughter, wasn't the derogatory press, said of him, she said of her father that Dad wanted to be the baby at every christening, the bride at every wedding, and the corpse at every funeral. So the corpse at every funeral, the bride at every wedding, and the baby at every christening. And interestingly, the night that President Trump got elected in November of 2016, Tom Barrack, a Lebanese gentleman, had occasionally did business and real estate with President Trump. He was in charge of the inaugural committee. He told the interviewer that President Trump was a combination of P.T. Barnum, first it's a combination of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, who was a Democratic president in about the 1830s, almost 200 years ago now, 190 plus years ago, and P.T. Barnum, the famous circus, very successful circus guy.
Of course, yes.
Okay, and of course Theodore Roosevelt. And there are similarities. There are similarities to those guys. One thing interesting I would never condemn somebody for drinking. Okay, because some very good people drink. Okay, and
Sure.
occasionally see people smoke and turn out well. But that said, I'm not holding it down. Okay, we're all mere mortals and all perfect human beings. But President, the connection with Andrew Jackson got an idea in his head and he worked at it. And he was a very common guy. And Washington, D.C. in those days, because New York served as the nation's capital when first President General George Washington became the initial president, and it wasn't until under Thomas Jefferson, third president, that Washington, D.C. is divided up between a part of Maryland and a part of Virginia. It's called the District of Columbia. Anyway, by time President, late 1820-some, when President Andrew Jackson comes in, it's only about 20 years old as the nation's capital. And there's no pavement in those days. You're talking almost 200 years ago, 190, 200 years ago. Anyway, he invited everybody into the White House on Inauguration Day, and the people wore boots, not shoes or dress shoes then. They wore boots. That was because everything was muddy. And everybody tracked in the White House, and they found every spot in the White House was liquor stored, drank all the liquor, and left. That's a true story. He was a man of the people, and he was a remarkable man. He was a remarkable man.
That's funny.
And his wife was remarkable. Well, it is. And yeah, I'll tell you now, I mentioned him in the video, so I'm going to mention this. He didn't serve liquor, but Premier Steve McNeil, doesn't he have a good first name?
Very good first
Premier
name.
Steve McNeil. Premier Steve McNeil, when most of the premiers of both all three parties, Tory, NDP, and Liberals, have gone to big fancy ass hotels in Halifax and invite a small number of people at probably $50, $75 to have finger food and a bit of cheese and whatever, wine or something, or milk or whatever. And they take and he held his inauguration at I think it's called the King George, it's the George Street and Apples Royal, and it's the King's Theatre, and he invited hundreds of people. There's an old lady at Terry Fox Nation, her mother got an invitation there, and lots of people never get invited. Steve McNeil was a very down-to-earth cat as a premier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why did he leave? Do you have any inside information why he left so abruptly?
Well, I did a video back in the summer on Premier Steve McNeil and Nova Scotia's future, and I was quite surprised when he'd leave. Okay, I supported Lavi Kasoulis for leadership. In fact, I did a video, and it went over quite good. I called it "The Gentleman," or referred to Lavi Kasoulis. They take and the nice guy, who I referred to as Ian Rankin, and the other fellow, Randy Laurie. And I'm not supposed to curse, so I'm not going to say anything in Randy Laurie. Okay, so you've warned me not to curse, and so I'm going to be man of my word. So the video was called "The Gentleman," i.e. Lavi Kasoulis, the nice guy, i.e. Ian Rankin, and then the other feller, you know.
The other feller.
Yeah. His grandmother's nice. Nice lady. Yeah. Can I tell you a story about his grandmother?
Go ahead, sure, John.
It's kind of cute. His grandmother she lived with a year and a half, and she lived another year and a half when she was 101. She would have seen one of her grandsons get elected as MLA for Antigonish County. And was pretty proud for a lady raised a big family whose husband died fairly young and kept him here. She was a school teacher in a small few-room schoolhouses, okay? Very fine lady. Used to read at the Mass, the Pioneer Mass at Christmas, and the Pioneer Mass in the summer and July, and the Christmas one for just before, week or two before. They always have it 2 weeks before Christmas. In case it gets stormed out, they still have one more week to go. And so anyway, she lived with her daughter, and the last 6 months or so of her life, she lived in assisted living. And one of her sons, Randy's father, Charlie's brother, is a bit of a wit. Her father, Charlie's a gentleman, despite how Randy turned out. Charlie truly is a gentleman. In fact, I told him one time, I'd like you to leave and your father run it, support your father. And the secretary said, John wants you to be replaced by your father. Anyway, back to the brother Philip went to visit his mother in the nursing home, and he sat in her bed and she was in a chair. He sat in the chair by the bed, and he says, Mom, what's my name? Because the lady had a bit of dementia, but she was a wonderful lady, and she looked at Philip and she said, pointed her finger, wagged her finger, if you don't know your name, I'm not going to tell you. But Mary Laurie, Randy's mother, definitely knew who he was. But she just, if he was going to be smart ass with her when she's 99 out, and he was about 68, 70 at the time, and
winding her up.
You don't know your name, I'm not going to tell you.
Just winding her up.
It's a true story.
Well,
yeah.
look, John, thanks a lot for coming on. I think we're winding her down here at the end of the show.
Oh, God, I didn't realize it talked that long.
She just flew by.
Well, it did. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask me?
Well, I think we got to the 5G question. That was the main one. And other than some jokes, people asking how much you could bench, you know.
Well, okay, I do sit-ups and push-ups.
How many push-ups can you do?
50.
50?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Is
goodness.
that bad?
No, it's great.
Okay, fine, good, yeah.
Well, we were just joking about having a push-up contest.
I like cutting bushes and mowing grass. I have no patience to play golf.
Well, that's all right. I guess
you're wonderful people. Shelley, Stephen Hughes Esquire, the gentleman that's going to be getting me the lovely bottlehead.
Yes. Oh, yes. Right from Halifax.
I appreciate that. I'm going to put it right in my desk here.
Nice. No, we'll do that. Oh, I hear the train coming, too. I think the train kind of made its way over here now.
Good. That's coming back with the empties now.
That's right. Well,
they'll come up and suddenly filled up.
Look, John,
Got me
thanks.
box spurs and wallboard and coal hoppers, everything. Yep.
Yeah, keep her going. Hey, keep the system
Thank you,
moving.
Hal. I'm sorry to take up so much time. I love doing this. This is just. I have no idea how long I'm talking once I start to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you noticed that.
That's fun though. We'll have you on again sometime.
Well, thank you very much. And bless your heart, Charlie and Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Pettipas, John Pettipas, everyone.
Shut the camera off. I just shut the camera off.
Yes, we'll end it,
Sure.
and then we'll say goodbye to the chat here. So,
Thank you. All the best tonight now.
take care, John.
Bye.
Oops, I was a little. What can I say? Whoop. A little quick on that one. Right on. Well, let's see what I can do about this now. Get this going back on. Activate. Boom. Lovely. Well, great. Thanks, guys, for hanging out there. That was fun. Where did the chat go? Let me move this up here. Boom. Boom. There. Right on. So that was a local celebrity, well-known businessman, entrepreneur, John Pettipas. Everyone has stopped by his store, passing by over the years, and I'm sorry if I didn't steer the interview and I probably just kind of let him go on. I should have asked. I should have had some more things kind of prepared.
I don't think what it matters.
I agree. And it's fine. I had a great time, and anyways, high energy is an understatement for that guy. That's right. So right on. So cool. Oh yeah, we were live. I just wasn't really. I saw a couple questions there, but I didn't really. I kind of wanted. I didn't want to be rude. I'm like that when we have guests on. I don't like to be. I try to like to concentrate on on them.
Well, there was no way to interrupt.
Yeah, no way to interrupt there. That's for sure. Anyways, there we go. Beauty. So look here, guys. I guess that's a wrap. Do a 24-hour show. Oh my God. With Doc. I mean, who would win? We have to get him closer to his phone. I tried to say that a couple times, but it didn't. It didn't happen. Anyways, but he's quite the character around here, and I feel like even we talked for almost an hour this afternoon as a test, and there were so many hilarious things he said there, like that I should have cut him off early in that conversation and said, save it. Yeah, we should have saved it. But anyways,
now you know, and you can go back.
And now we have another
interview him or whatever.
Yeah, well, and you never look. You
want.
never know what we can help do sketches together somehow, right?
Right.
Budgie wants some electronic music. Is that what you're laughing at?
Yes. That's what I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone said, he looked a little Dr. Fauci. I think he has a sense of humor enough that he would do some kind of jokey video that we came up with.
I think he'll play the game.
Well, do you know what, Budgie Burger? It's your lucky day.
What?
I'm gonna play a video that I don't usually play. Well, I use it sometimes, but anyways, I'll have to message him in a second and say thank you. But on the way out, we'll play a song just for Budgie Burger. Since yeah, I like that. I think this might be considered electronic music. Let's find out. Wait, now that's not what I wanted. I wanted this PC. Yeah. Let's see what he thinks of this. Hope that's the right one. There we go. So look, guys, thanks again for hanging out, and thanks to John Pettipas, Mr. John Pettipas, for coming on.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Pettipas.
yeah, I know he's very likable guy, and people have always thought, and you can only imagine, right? I mean, so this guy had a market, and I should have, next time he comes on, I'm going to ask him more about his market and the people he's met over the years, because
he seems to know a lot.
You can only imagine that people stop by and he would chat their ear off, and he would have spent some significant amount of time for just a market stop. But anyways, on the way out, Well, Budgie Burger, I don't know. At one point, I considered this to be kind of an electronic sound that I tried to work with. I hope you agree, but I'm kind of, when it comes to instrumental music, I'm kind of a noob. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you Monday, maybe?
He will.
Maybe.
I won't. Monday's holiday, I don't know.
Yes, we'll see, as long as I can stay awake.
But he will. Maybe.
But on that note, we'll see you next week sometime. Thanks again.
Did you hear what it's all about? Can you believe it? I don't know if I should really say, or should I keep it a secret? It's secondhand, it must be true, but no one sees it. All this time, it's been on my mind, I've got a secret. But is there any other way to get out of the current situation? No matter what you do or say, just stay away from that conversation. Pressure's building up so fast and getting heated. I'll wait until the perfect time and then I'll leak it. That secret, you'll never know when it might come out or for what reason. All this time, been on your mind, I've got a secret, but will I keep it? Now is there any other way to get out of the current situation? No matter what you do or say, just stay away from that conversation. All the things you've been keeping to yourself and